The church should be in the pattern and practice of giving every week, and every believer should consistently and regularly participate in the worship through giving and supporting the worship and the ministry of the church. You're supposed to give regularly. Look at verses 1 and 2. He says, hey, as I directed the churches in Galatia, so this is an established pattern. This is not something just that I'm asking you to do, Corinthian church. It says that every church has a responsibility to give, and to give on the first day of the week. It should be a part of the regular rhythm of worship. Giving's supposed to be part of the weekly rhythm that churches do. It's how you worship. And every believer is supposed to consistently contribute to the kingdom work. Now, it doesn't mean that some of you work different kinds of jobs. Some of you get paid every week. Some of you get paid every month. Some of you get paid kind of all like in one, like a bonus or something at the end of the year. And so it doesn't mean that you have to give every single week. It just means that the church should be in the pattern and practice of giving every week. And every believer should consistently and regularly participate in the worship through giving and supporting the worship and the ministry of the church. So the regular rhythm, though, does reinforce some things for us. The things that we do most regularly are the things that are most important to us. And it really helps us to kind of reinforce and remind us of one of our core teachings about generosity, which is that God is the owner and we are the managers. Every time we pass the buckets, every time we talk about relentless pursuit at Family Church, that should be a trigger and a reminder to you that God is the ultimate owner of all of our resources. It's not your money. It's not my money. It's really God's money. I'm a temporary steward. I'm a temporary custodian of the resources that God has given me, and I'm responsible and will be accountable to God for how I invest it, for how I support it, how I give generously to the right kinds of things. So we want to be wise and effective managers of the resources God entrusts to us. He tells us in the text not to give impulsively, but to make a plan for how you give. And that's exactly what we try to do here at Family Church. Now, some of you are new. You joined our church since the beginning of the year, and so you're not familiar yet with the rhythm of how we do this. Every year, at the very beginning of the year, we set aside a couple of weeks to talk about what God has done through the work of Family Church, what we're going and hopefully going to do in the future, and we together make a shared commitment or pledge towards future kingdom work. And so we call it Relentless Pursuit, and we ask you to fill out a card that looks something just like this. We have these cards, and we talk about this for a couple weeks at the beginning of the year. We ask everybody who's connected to Family Church to make a plan, to have a conversation with your spouse or with your family or with yourself, and to make a plan for what you plan or hope or commit to contributing to Relentless Pursuit through the course of the calendar year. And some of you are new. You don't realize that we do this. You don't realize that this is a part of the rhythm. It would be a good practice for you, even for the rest of the year, as you start thinking about 2026, to start thinking about what does the regular and consistent giving rhythm look like for you and for your family. The things that we don't do regularly, if you don't do it regularly, you're either not going to do it at all or going to do it impulsively or sporadically, and that's really not the best plan. It's really not what the Apostle Paul lays out for the church at Corinth in 1 Corinthians 16. So you have to make a plan to give. All right, how do I plan? What do I give? How do I know what I should give? The Bible speaks to that as well. He says that point number 2, or the second kind of blank there, is that we should give proportionally. You should make your giving proportional. In verse 2, he says, you should give as he may prosper, so that there will be no collecting when I come. In the Bible, in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, the Bible teaches what's called proportional giving. You're supposed to give out of what you have, not out of what you don't have. Family Church isn't a club. There's no membership. There's no dues. There's no minimum payment that you have to make. There's no set fee. There's no subscription annually that just automatically renews. What's supposed to happen is you're supposed to give, each one of us, all of us are supposed to give proportionally. Some of us make a little bit. Some of us make an average amount. Some of us make proportionally a lot more than other people in our community. You give proportionally out of what God gives to you, there's not a set amount. If you're new to giving, a good goal, something maybe you should kind of begin to work towards or think about, is to give what's called a tithe. A tithe is a Bible word that just simply means 10%. You know, like 10% of what? Like 10%, like you're doing the math, like 10% seems like, for somebody that's a lot. Like we're talking like after tax, before tax, deductions, like what are we thinking, right? All right, whatever you want God to bless you on, if you want God to bless you on your before tax or your after tax, you just make that decision. But the idea is that you give a proportion. All of us can give proportionally. Now, some of you are like, hey, look, I am not, like, you're talking about me giving 10%. I've never given anything. I'm not even in a position, like, financially, you don't really understand what's going on with us. We're not in a position where we could do that. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to see in the text that you're supposed to give out of what you have, not what you don't have, and that you should work towards some kind of a standard. You should work towards you should have some goals for yourself. We have this tool that we use called the generosity ladder, and it's really, really helpful to think about and find where you're at in your giving and your generosity journey. Some of you are what we call potential givers. And you say, what does it mean to be a potential giver? It means that you haven't given anything yet, but you potentially could. And the first step for you might just be to give something. And so we've given you these connect cards where you can say, hey, listen, I don't even know how to do it, but I'm interested in getting involved. Some of you give occasionally, you kind of give sporadically, but you've never really sat down and said, hey, what would it look like for me to be a consistent or an emerging giver? What would it look like for me to give perhaps a little bit more intelligently or a little bit more convictionally with my resources? Some of you, you're already at a tithe. Some of you have the ability, you can give a lot more than a tithe because God's just blessed you and he's been very generous to you. And for you, a proportional amount looks like a lot more than a tithe. But the idea is, and the beautiful thing about the kingdom is all of us can participate. God's given all of us something and we have the ability to give proportionally, all of us in some way.